Thank you for the introduction. My presentation is to elaborate a little bit more about the role of palm oil and how important palm oil is to supply the world with requirements for oils and fats. So this the presentation outline. The chart here is very simple. It shows how the green bar representing palm oil has become more and more prominent and dominant over the years, as you can see by the height of the green bar, to reflect the position and the role of palm oil in world oils and fats production. So in numbers, you can read later how palm oil is a major source and also to source for oils and fats, but basically we are trying to match right at the bottom the population growth that has reached over 7 billion but will continue to reach 9 billion before 2050. So, and also the world gross domestic income or product has also continued to grow. So with the growing world population and GDP, we expect consumption to grow. And this is world oils and fats consumption. As you can see, it has been growing steadily. And this is the driver, as alluded to by the previous speaker, of how the rest of the world, the producers of edible oils and fats, will have to work hard to produce the necessary supply in order to meet the world consumption demand. The main consumers or countries consuming oils and fats are dictated by population size, like China and India, but also the income size or level, like the EU and USA. And therefore you can see how each of these major countries' consumption pattern is reflected in this slide. So either they have very big population or they have a big income or high income level that leads them to become major consumers. There are details here. I will allow you to read this when we upload this presentation on our website. It should be uploaded by today, so you can go back and read these details about the presentation today at our MPOC website. But as you can see, per capita consumption here can be as high as 55 kilograms to 59 kilograms in the US and EU, and it can be low for big countries like India and China at 15 and 25. So we come to the consumption per capita of Myanmar later on. And the main oils consumed, as you can see, is already favoring palm, also mentioned by previous speakers. As you can see, 1990 palm oil was not a major oil consumed. It was only 14%. Later it grew to 19%, and subsequently 2010, 27%, and now 2012, 28%. So, and becomes the largest in terms of market share occupied by palm. And palm oil in the global oils and fats market, as mentioned in the chart, is to show that palm oil is now the #1 oil, both consumed, produced, as well as exported. But there are many parts to the palm oil production or products available, and this leads to its versatility. Different parts or different components, fractions of palm oil used both for food, non-food, detergent, pharmaceuticals, and biofuels. These are well known. Our exhibition outside there would already explain the different products available from the olein for industrial frying to stearine as a hard fat, solid fat for producing solid fat products like margarines. And there are also meat fractions which can be more suitable for chocolate, butter equivalent, and also in later years, palm oil is increasingly used for non-food. This includes oleochemicals as well as biodiesel. And production, this figure has also been mentioned, 53 million tons by 2012, and it's still growing. And therefore, we are looking at new regions or areas where oil palm cultivation is expanding. Africa is coming into the picture, Latin America as well. But other countries are also trying to grow because of its profitability due to high yield and lower cost of production as a result. So the main consumers are regional based. In the Asian subcontinent, for example, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, they have huge population and very big shortage in self-sufficiency. So palm oil has become a dominant source of supply. The USA they are consuming palm oil for a different reason. They used to be net exporter. Now they use a lot for biodiesel, local oil like soya, and they're becoming net importer. And for specific reasons of trying to avoid trans fats, in US is also consuming palm to produce trans-free fat products. So US is actually importing more than 1 million tons of palm oil from Malaysia right now. So they are also a big importer or consumer of palm oil. So you can see again the comparative dominance of palm oil against soya, rapeseed, and sunflower. And in the export market, way back in 1990, palm oil was already determined to be a major source of supply in the export market, 36%. This grew very quickly to 42% by 2000. And by 2012, you can see it's already more than half, 56% of global exports is made up of palm oil. And this is always a favorite chart that I use to demonstrate that most countries in the world are net importers of oils and fats, led by China, EU, and India. And the EU, you can see from the size of this bar on the left, is importing about 8 million tons net imports of oils and fats, mostly palm oil. And as you can see, if you are a net importer, the most you can do is to import from these net exporters. And the net exporters, the two biggest ones are Indonesia and Malaysia. And the others are not really big net exporters, Argentina, Brazil, and so on, partly because they are converting their available oil to biodiesel or local mandates blending. So looks like Malaysia and Indonesia are the major net exporters, where the world on the left side would be sourcing their supply for self-sufficiency. And the price discount to soybean, already also mentioned, is interesting because it makes buying palm oil much more simpler, influenced by its relatively cheaper price, reflected by the discount to soya. This discount can be in the blue line, indicating they're up to $250 per ton lately to soya. So if we look at how price will evolve, we always monitor the stock usage ratio for world supply of oils and fats. Stock usage ratio would indicate tightness of supply in the marketplace. And last year, the stock usage ratio went up, 2012, and price came down a little. And this year, there is no real improvement. Palm is slightly recovering in terms of stock usage ratio, meaning lower, but other oils, as mentioned by Mr. Melki, soya may be increasing in supply, therefore stock usage ratio is not coming down. And that means price will continue to stabilize or at this current level or improve slightly. So we are more predicting between the blue and the yellow forecast for price. But interesting enough, long term, you can see that palm oil is so competitive. Out of the total land area used for agriculture, oil palm occupies very little land area, 14 million hectares, or less than 0.3 million, percent of the total land area for agriculture is occupied by palm. And if you look at Malaysian palm oil, which has 5 million hectares cultivated with oil palm, that is representing 0.1% of world agriculture land. Even then, people are already screaming why we are using so much land to produce palm oil. But simply because this is affordable or allowed to happen because of the high yield of palm, as you can see, and it is high yield relative to the other oils like soya, and this later on translate into this chart where with very little land use in ground, we are producing the highest amount of oil in green compared to soya in the last column, with a very tall 103 million hectares used for producing soya bean, but the amount of oil produced is much lower than palm, 42 million tons. So that leads to the world responding with the food price, and the food price index. Last year there was a temporary oversupply. The 2012 food price index was declining, and in the various commodities, oils and fats declined slightly more than the other commodities like cereal. So that translates into the ability of the palm oil industry to oversupply at times. But the world 10 fastest growing economies here includes Myanmar. And you can see at 10.3% GDP growth, it will be reflecting the high growth countries on the right, joining the high growth countries. Of course, ASEAN countries have been high growing economies. Now, Africa is coming to join that league. So, you can see that countries like Myanmar obviously would be key countries that would contribute to new or more consumption, increased consumption because of the economic growth. The Malaysian palm oil exports, we consistently become dominant exporter of palm, although it slightly dipped for 2012, but this is continuing That 2012 dip was partly because of lack of export opportunity while competing with Indonesia, so that we build a lot of stocks. But otherwise, as you can see from this chart, export is in blue, production in red, and what we cannot export, especially since September last year or July last year, it accumulated as exports, as stocks. So that's how palm oil price weakened during the later part of last year because of stock build-up. And Myanmar market situation, this has been explained. You are importing a good amount of oils and fats, and this is to supplement shortage in production. And if we look at this chart, the one in yellow would be consumption, blue production, and the red line indicating the level of imports. But there may be opportunities to question this acceptance of palm oil as food, as nutritional acceptance, and therefore I want to elaborate in the next few slides what others are saying. This is not what I am saying as a promoter of palm, but others are saying. Dr. Oz is part of the US television star or personality that announced that red palm oil was first miracle solution for 2013 because this helps stop aging inside and outside, meaning that it is loaded with so much vitamins and antioxidants that palm oil is good for you, kind of thing. So that is part of the nutritional development that we can obtain from endorsement by an American doctor here, very famous TV personality participating in the Winfrey Oprah show. We have also patented a product, blends of palm with local oils in the US. The patent carries the claim that this blend will help improve cholesterol ratio. And this claim is allowed by the FDA of the US to be put on product labels. And because of this strong, almost health claim, helps to protect your cholesterol, improve your cholesterol ratio, these blended products containing 50% palm oil is selling very well in the US, sales around $200 million a year, and therefore it is the top selling margarine and other blended products brand in the US. And for that reason I said, plus other operators, the US is importing and consuming more than 1 million tons a year of Malaysian palm oil. And partly because we have consistently shown this outcome of studies showing that palm oil reduces cholesterol compared to or as effectively or similarly as olive oil and canola or rapeseed oil. So there is absolutely no real difference between the cholesterol response, whether the good cholesterol or bad LDL cholesterol. All the response would be the same, whether you are consuming palm oil or canola or rapeseed oil. And most of you might not know that frying is a very big, is one of the top 20 innovations in the food industry, frying. We take for granted that frying is a normal operation in the kitchen, but actually frying adds a lot of value to the food, to make it more palatable, add vitamins, make it tasty and so on. And the palm, you can see, contributes because it is the most stable oil for frying applications, and therefore with a long stability or oxidative stability period for palm, that makes it the most, in red bar, you can see the number of hours it remains stable according to the AOM, active oxygen measure or method of calculating oxidative stability. And for that reason, palm oil is used a lot in industrial frying operations. So I don't have to explain that. You can see also one other way of looking at how stable palm oil is, the number of hours it remains stable. Here you can see on the right, palm oil double or triple the stability of lard or soybean oil. And palm oil is superior to other oils, including peanut or groundnut oil as well, as this comparison shows. So, and there are many fractions of palm that can be used for selective functionality required for different applications. So we leave that to the detailed technical papers later on. So what happens when a population is exposed to palm oil as a primary dietary fat consumed over 20 years? So the long-term effect of consuming palm oil may be of importance to all of you, but this question has been answered in Malaysia, because in Malaysia we consume mostly palm. And taking a sample of people around 40 years old, our researcher, Dr. Sundram here, for example, has established that both males and females of known body weight index and so on, they have been consuming mostly palm in the past, and we expect them to develop some risk for cardiovascular disease. But when this risk is measured in the form of the particle size of the bad cholesterol, what we call the small LDL cholesterol, which is very atherogenic, which is very bad for the heart, it was proven or shown statistically that palm oil did not increase the heart disease risk for this Malaysian sample of population that have been consuming palm oil for most of their life, 20 years at least, because we pick people of age 20, and we know most of them would have been consuming palm. So these are the details, but there are risk factors indicated, especially the small LDL is highly correlated with the types and the intake type and the amount of carbohydrates consumed. Carbohydrates would be sugar, rice, everything else, but not to the palm oil. You can see the correlation is not related to palm, as you can see here. Not significant correlation when we talk about palm oil, but it does correlate significantly with carbohydrates. So that gives us an impression that consuming palm oil over a long period does not increase your cardiovascular risk profile. So in conclusion, if you can use some of this information to assure the market that palm oil is safe and nutritious, Malaysia will continue to be the source of affordable, cheap, meaning cheap, healthy and sustainable supply of oils and fats to Myanmar. And a lot of the problems faced by manufacturers or consumers, even having sticky kitchen walls, can be solved when you consume palm, which is so stable that it would not lead to sticky kitchen walls. That would happen if you consume a lot of soft oil like corn oil and so on. So the dominance of palm oil is increasing. So this is an industry that is here to stay. Palm oil will continue to be an attractive long-term commodity for producers as well as consumers. And investment in oil palm cultivation should continue, not only in Malaysia or elsewhere, but also, I believe, as mentioned by the previous speaker, in Myanmar itself. In terms of Myanmar, foreign exchange can be saved by using palm, as it's cheaper than your other oils. Even if you have peanut, groundnut, and sesame seed oil as your oil, these are very expensive oil. You get probably a lot more palm oil in exchange for exporting those oils. So export the expensive oil and use the more healthy and more, let's say, less expensive oil. So, as I said here, at current price, palm oil is often $250 per ton cheaper than soybean oil itself. So, in conclusion, finally, palm oil is very versatile, hence a variety of products can be formulated out of it. It is natural, it is transferring ingredient. So with this, we will download this paper or presentation at our website, www.mpoc.org.my, where you can also see from the same web page my blog and my tweet for you to enjoy reading and following. Thank you very much for your attention.